Every single day, Americans eat roughly 50 million hamburgers. That is enough ground beef to circle the planet in quarter-pound patties laid end to end, and then keep going. But here is something most people never stop to think about. A huge number of those patties, the ones sitting in your freezer right now, the ones you grabbed off the shelf last Tuesday, are not actually made from 100% beef. They say beef on the package. They look like beef. They even smell like beef when you throw them on the grill. But flip that box over, read the tiny print on the back, and you will find ingredients that have no business being inside something called a burger. We are talking soy flour, beef hearts, textured vegetable protein, water injected to add weight, and chemical compounds most people cannot pronounce. And the wildest part is that none of this is illegal. The United States Department of Agriculture has a very specific set of rules about what can and cannot be called beef. And once you understand how those rules actually work, you will never look at the frozen meat aisle the same way again. If this is the kind of deep dive you enjoy, hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss one. It genuinely helps more people find videos like this. To understand why so many brands get away with selling something that is not really beef under a label that implies it is, you need to understand one critical distinction. The USDA says that a product labeled ground beef must contain nothing except beef and the fat that naturally occurs in the trimmings. No water, no fillers, no binders, no soy, nothing. That is the law. But a product labeled beef patties plays by completely different rules. Beef patties can legally contain added water, soy protein, textured vegetable protein, beef hearts, organ meats, binders, and extenders, as long as those ingredients appear on the label. Think of it like this. Ground beef is the equivalent of a locked recipe. Nobody gets to add anything to it. Beef patties is more like a suggestion. It means beef is in there somewhere, but so is a long list of other things designed to cut costs and bulk up the product. And most shoppers have no idea that these two terms mean fundamentally different things. They see the word beef, they see the picture of a juicy burger on the front of the box, and they assume they are getting meat. The USDA does not require companies to put a big warning on the front of the package explaining that their product contains soy protein or beef hearts. That information is buried on the back, in a font size that practically requires a magnifying glass. So which brands are the worst offenders? Start with Extra Value Meats, one of the cheapest frozen patty brands you will find at Walmart and other discount grocers. Flip over a box of their quarter-pound beef patties, and the ingredient list reads like a chemistry experiment. Beef is the first ingredient, which sounds reassuring until you see what comes next. Beef hearts, water, textured vegetable protein made from soy flour, soy protein concentrate, then a seasoning blend that includes maltodextrin, sugar, disodium inosinate, disodium guanylate, and something called extractives of turmeric. That is not a burger. That is a manufactured food product engineered to look, feel, and taste close enough to beef to pass at a backyard cookout. And at roughly $3 for a 5-pound box of 20 patties, the math tells you everything you need to know. That works out to about 15 cents per patty. For reference, the USDA reports that the average retail price of ground beef in the US hovers around $5 a pound. 15 cents per quarter-pound patty means you are paying roughly 60 cents a pound. Genuine beef does not come anywhere near that price. Great Value, Walmart's flagship store brand, also sells a line of beef burgers with an ingredient list that includes water, textured soy protein, sodium phosphate, and mustard powder. It is important to note that Great Value also sells a separate 100% pure beef patties product that contains only beef, so the brand itself is a split personality. If you grab the wrong box, you end up with soy filler instead of meat. Banquet, owned by Conagra Brands, takes things even further. Their frozen Salisbury steak and country fried beef patty meals list mechanically separated chicken and pork ahead of beef in the ingredient list. When the first ingredient in a product called beef patty is actually chicken, that is not a labeling nuance. That is a different animal entirely. The patty also contains textured vegetable protein, soy protein concentrate, and caramel color to make everything look more like beef than it actually is. Tyson Foods, through its Advanced Pierre food service line, supplies millions of beef patties to school cafeterias, hospitals, and institutional kitchens across the country. Many of those patties contain soy protein concentrate, added water, dextrose, and caramel color. These are not the Tyson products you see at the grocery store. These are bulk-produced, cost-optimized patties designed for volume-feeding operations where the priority is hitting a price point, not delivering a premium eating experience. And then there is the issue nobody in the industry wants to talk about openly, the thing that was once called pink slime. Lean, finely textured beef, or LIF-TB, is made by taking the fatty trimmings left over after all the premium cuts have been removed from a cow, heating those trimmings to separate the fat from the remaining scraps of meat, and then treating the result with ammonium hydroxide or citric acid to kill bacteria. The final product is a pink paste that gets blended into ground beef as a filler. In 2012, an ABC News investigation revealed that roughly 70% of the ground beef sold in American supermarkets contained LFTB without any separate labeling. The public backlash was enormous. Grocery chains pulled the product, schools stopped buying it. The manufacturer, a South Dakota company called Beef Products Inc., or BPI, nearly went bankrupt and laid off hundreds of workers. BPI sued ABC News for defamation and settled for $177 million, one of the largest media defamation settlements in American history. But here is the part that genuinely shocks people. In 2018, the USDA quietly approved a petition from BPI to reclassify lean, finely textured beef as simply ground beef. That means LFTB no longer needs to be labeled separately. It can be blended into any ground beef product and sold to you under the same label as the premium chuck sitting right next to it in the meat case. There is no legal requirement for a grocery store to tell you whether their ground beef contains LFTB or not. The only way to know for certain is to buy from a brand or retailer that explicitly states they do not use it. And that brings us to the brands that actually deliver what most people think they are buying. Start with Bubba Burgers, founded in 1995 by a man named Walter Eves. Every Bubba patty lists exactly one ingredient on the box: beef. Specifically, USDA choice chuck that the company grinds in-house. No fillers, no binders, no preservatives, no soy. The company has built its entire identity around that simplicity, and it shows in the price. A box of Bubba Burgers costs noticeably more than the budget brands, usually somewhere around $8 to $10 for 6 patties, but you are paying for actual meat. Kirkland Signature, Costco's in-house brand, sells frozen beef patties where the only listed ingredient is beef. Their grass-fed line goes even further, using 100% grass-fed beef raised without antibiotics or added hormones. At roughly $53 for a 40-count box of quarter-pound patties, that breaks down to about $1.33 per patty, or roughly $5.30 per pound, which is competitive with fresh ground beef from most grocery stores. When people who run the numbers for a living set a price point like that for a single ingredient product, it usually means the supply chain is solid enough to deliver quality at scale. Schweid & Sons, a fourth-generation family-owned company out of New Jersey, has been focused on one product since 1978: ground beef. Their patties are fresh, never frozen, and made from certified Angus beef. The ingredient list is beef. That is it. They supply high-end restaurants and grocery chains across the Northeast, and their entire business model is built around the idea that a great burger does not need anything except great beef. Tribali Foods makes organic beef patties with no binders, no fillers, and no preservatives. Their Mediterranean-style patty adds herbs like garlic, oregano, rosemary, and mint to organic beef, but every additional ingredient is a recognizable whole food, not a chemical additive. Market Side, another Walmart brand that sits on the shelf right next to Great Value, sells 100% Angus beef burgers, where the only ingredient is pure ground black Angus beef. Same store, same freezer aisle, completely different product. Pound of Ground sells burger thins, where the only ingredient is beef, and each patty contains 0 carbohydrates, which is a useful litmus test. Pure beef has no carbs. If your beef patty has carbohydrates listed on the nutrition label, something other than beef got added. That is a quick trick anyone can use standing in the grocery store without even reading the ingredient list. Now, to be fair, there is an honest case for why some of these cheaper products exist. Not every family can afford to spend $8 to $10 on 6 burger patties. A 5-pound box of extra value patties at $3 feeds a family of 4 multiple times. The fillers, while not ideal, are legal and generally recognized as safe by the FDA. Soy protein is a complete protein. Textured vegetable protein has been used in food manufacturing for decades. Nobody is going to the emergency room because their burger contains some soy flour. The issue is not safety. The issue is transparency. When you label a product as beef patties and put a picture of a thick, juicy, all-American hamburger on the front of the box, you are making an implied promise to the consumer. And for a lot of these brands, the actual product inside the box does not match that promise. Over 70% of American consumers say that food transparency is important to them, according to multiple industry surveys. But current labeling regulations make it remarkably easy for companies to meet the technical letter of the law while completely missing the spirit of what buyers actually expect. The challenge going forward is not banning fillers or soy. It is making sure that the person standing in the frozen aisle at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday night, trying to figure out what to feed their kids, can tell at a glance whether they are buying a product made from 1 ingredient or 12. That should not require a magnifying glass and a food science degree. Until that changes, the most powerful thing you can do is flip the box over, read the back, and look for a short ingredient list. If it says beef and nothing else, you are in good shape. If it reads like a paragraph from a chemistry textbook, you might want to put it back on the shelf. So here is the question I want to leave you with, and I genuinely want to hear from you in the comments. Go into your freezer tonight, pull out whatever ground beef product you have, and read the ingredient list. What did you find? Did it surprise you? Drop your answer below, hit like if you learned something, subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video, and I will see you in the next one.